Okay, let's quickly talk about the iiRDS Consortium. iiRDS is an open source standard. It's free of charge. To use it, you just have to register with the consortium, and then you can use everything. However, the consortium is sponsored by its members, and because all this work and the maintenance and further development of the standard needs to be paid for in some way, the consortium has membership, different membership models. We have full members and associate members and also supporting members. And if you actually want to influence the standard in a way, you can do so by becoming a member, a full member, and then work in the working groups. So we have several working groups for development, for standardization. Today there was a press release that iiRDS has reached the pass stage with IEC, with the international standardization, which is very good news, meaning that iiRDS is on its way to becoming an international standard. And we have a working group for tools and validation, which, for instance, managed all the work around the validation tool and the open toolkit. We do have a steering committee that defines strategic goals and aligns iiRDS with other organizations. And if you're interested in exploring iiRDS, that may be interesting for you. iiRDS, the consortium sponsors pilot projects. If you use iiRDS and work with one of the certified service providers, which are listed on the website, you can actually get, I think then it's 5,000. Oh, there it is, 5,000 euro net for your project, which may decrease the budget that you need for your content delivery project, for example. And we did this in 2022, and there's a new round that was opened and which is opened until June 23. So you can still apply for your pilot project. And of course, we would be very happy to get more members in the consortium. If you want to work with us on the standard or only fund the work, both is fine for us. For instance, Siemens and SEW joined in the previous years, and we are very happy to have more industry members now because they drive the requirements. There are related standards out there in the world, and it's too much to list them all, but let me just show you the obvious candidates. I don't know whether you came across VDI 2770, which is a guideline from the German Association of Engineers. They also define an exchange format for technical documentation with a container format and metadata very, very similar to iiRDS. However, you can only assign metadata to documents, not to topics, not to fragments, and they only have 12 metadata categories. We have I think 22 main classes, and then we have a lot of subclasses. But if you want to deal with metadata, and if maybe your customer requires this, it's easy to generate VDI 2770 packages from iiRDS packages because it's a simpler format. There's also an implementation guide on how to map the metadata of both standards. As I already said before, E-class is a related standard because it's a product taxonomy. There's a cooperation between iiRDS and E-class. And I added some link here on YouTube because Michael Fritz from TCOM Germany reported about the E-class cooperation at the TC World Conference in November. And another important standard is the asset administration shell, which is used as a format for the digital twin. So if you want to have a standardized format to represent your components, your machinery, your software in a digital twin, The asset administration shell is one format to use in a standardized format. And iiRDS is currently taking part in 2 research projects that actually implement sample administration shells for iiRDS content. One is the iiRDS handover documentation, and the other one is an administration shell for digital standards, ISO standards, for example. And there are some related initiatives like the Industrial Digital Twin Association and the Digital Data Chain Consortium, which also deal with standards and around smart content and smart components, and which also deal with how to best exchange information between different manufacturers. Okay, so that was a lot of information. You will hear more about how to apply iiRDS in the second webinar. Susanne, when is it?
It's on the 5th of May at noon, yeah, at 12 o'clock. It's a noon webinar that we have with TechCom Netherlands on the implementation of iiRDS, yes.
Yeah.
It's also a free webinar, and you can register also on techcom.eu on the webinar page. It's the same registration process as for this webinar.
Yeah, so the colleagues will tell you more about how to actually use iiRDS in the field, and possibly also from their project and project experience. That was not the focus of today, but it's a very good supplement for this webinar. If there are any more questions, feel free to ask them now, and I also entered our contact addresses here if you have any questions afterward or want to contact us.
I don't see any questions in the chat yet, but maybe we'll give it a minute. But if you have a question, you can also just quickly write something in the chat, and then you can activate your audio as well.
Okay, if you have any more questions, what are the main challenges when implementing iiRDS for the first time? Good question, Lee. I think the main challenge is that mostly the content is not fit for dynamic content delivery. Usually content is stuck in documents. Usually you don't have that much metadata for your content. So it's even if you have a nice metadata model and a nice content delivery portal that you want to use, you still need the right content for that. That is one challenge. And the other one is actually the systems themselves. As I said, there are some systems that support iiRDS out of the box, but in others you need to implement iiRDS so that it fits the CCMS, for instance. Some have taxonomies, others have metadata labels, others have metadata embedded in XML attributes. So there are different ways of actually assigning metadata to content, and this can be a challenge as well. So these are 2 of my mostly experienced challenges. Shall we call it a day then? No more questions.